Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the New Being Hypnosis channel. It is my honor to share my piece with you again. And for those of you who don't know, I am a hypnotherapist in Seattle, Washington. However, most of my all my services are remote via Zoom, and I may do some home visits soon in the local Seattle area, but most of my services are remote, so anybody can work with me pretty much anywhere in the world where there's Zoom and video access or even over the phone. Anyway, today's talk will be something different, something you probably haven't heard before or haven't heard many people talk about this, something not expecting. And it will involve a personal story from my life. I'll just go ahead and describe what the lesson and teaching is about and what the core of it is. And so it is, of course, this is the Web of Life series. The Web of Life series is going into detail about the connections between ourselves and how we connect with the rest of the world and the rest of the universe and all of life. And so that's what the Web of Life concept is, as it was taught to me by mantis beings who are interdimensional, interplanetary, very wise, advanced beings. And so the Web of Life, the way we connect ethereally with everything is through millions and millions of energy filaments that are connecting with and intersecting with and around our auras, and connecting every particle of ourselves physically and energetically with every particle of everything else physically and energetically. So that's the best way I can describe it quickly. But the lesson today is about the connection between our personal emotions and the spirits that we draw into our lives, the spirits we attract, as well as the people that we and circumstances we attract into our lives. I could go through so many experiences I've drawn to myself subconsciously or on a soul level, perhaps even a few consciously, some consciously, certainly. The story I want to share in this video that is an example of how that works is it's a story, or really more of a breakthrough with my wife and I, and something we had a breakthrough with recently, but something that really relates to how we are and how we've been behaving with ourselves and how our abilities and true natures have been sort of maturely or immaturely behaving with ourselves in different ways, some which I didn't understand and she didn't understand, or at least not understand how to fix. And so the breakthrough is that she's a psychic medium, she always has been, and I'm an empath. I would say I'm an intuitive empath. I've always been fairly sensitive to many things, sound and energy and light and spirits and spirituality and the spirit world as I've gotten older. So in college, we used to be like very open with each other in in many ways, and especially around her mediumship and around her abilities. And so I've known about mediums for most of my life, and I'm not necessarily a psychic medium per se, but I've I've gotten to know many. And so as I've gotten to know her, especially throughout college, in our college years, she would often see spirits and tell me about them, and I would ask her about what they look like, what they are, what they want, and what we can do for them or about them. And so we would go through a lot of that quite often. And so that was great. But then after college, things changed. Certain things in life and people, human interactions damaged me, traumatized me, and then got me down throughout a period of perhaps even years. And I've overcome a lot of that. I've really stepped into a new reality more recently in my life. And as things have been upgrading energetically, I've been following that and adapting to that. So, anyway, I was shut down for a lot of the past several years, a lot more than I used to be, especially emotionally. And for a long time, I haven't been as emotionally sensitive and open, especially with my wife and with other people too. And so I had to relearn how to allow myself to be emotionally open. So I shared a live video on my Troy J. Bacon account, where I share my hypnotherapy services and things, hypnotherapy related things. And it was a video recently of we have these heart-shaped spoons, and one of the spoons ended up falling into a 1 gallon bucket of honey, and I it got lost in there, and so I had to fish it out with another tool and bring it out. So that I took it as a message, just as everything is connected, sort of a message from spirit and my guides, allowing my heart to fall deeper into sweetness. And that's what I've been working on in various ways recently. And so my wife and I had a breakthrough recently where I agreed to work on allowing myself to be more open with her emotionally and more sweet with her than I have been for a while. And she agreed to also tell me more about the spirits that she sees all the time, and especially the deceased ones around us, so that we can help them. And that's certainly part of our purpose together. And so, what she told me recently is that I didn't even know for the past 8 years that I've known her is that almost every day, um, spirits, especially mean spirits, sort of pick on her and insult her and call her names and bring her sense of self and sense of self-esteem down. And so I didn't know that. I've helped her clear at least one or two, probably more, really a bunch of spirits who have been drawing her, bringing her down. And anyway, for years I've been assuming that it was part of her trauma that she's had for a long time from her past. I did not know that she had this basically psychic problem of spirits drawing her, like bringing her energy down, especially over the last few years, several years maybe, where I've been less emotionally open and emotionally sweet, where because of that and because of the ways I was not aware that I was coming across to her in some ways, and that brought her down. And so that emotional exchange and energy drew negative spirits to her all the time. And I did not realize that. I thought that she was just so sensitive and getting triggered frequently that she was just not very naturally happy or naturally upbeat or confident and things like that. So that's sort of the story and an example of how our inner emotions really interact with the spirit world, especially the way we treat others how we treat ourselves too, the programs we tell ourselves a lot, if we're worthy, if we can be creative, if we can be communicative, if people like us, if we are afraid that people don't like us, and if we're not loud enough, if we're not kind enough, if we're not perfect, if we don't do things up to someone else's standards, and so on. Those emotions certainly hurt us, and spirits of all kinds can sense that. Not only dark spirits and spirits who want to hurt us, but also angels, our spirit guides, and just about everything else. That is the lesson and the message of how that energy creates what I've come to learn as like cracks in your energy field, your aura, and those cracks and those damages then are what draw negative spirits to you to attack you, to feed off of you, to manipulate you, to draw feed off of certain energies you do, even if you're not necessarily an evil person, or if you're not living your purpose, or even if you're engaging in one or more not so healthy habits, whatever it is, whether if it's for stress relief or anything else that isn't beneficial for you, then that habit and that routine can also be the bait and the food for darker spirits. And conversely, of course, our positive emotions and our positive energies that we hold within ourselves, and the positive habits, the self-care, meditation, daily meditation, especially consistent at certain times, healing others, channeling healing energy if you do that. Even if you're perhaps a doctor or a nurse, your goodwill for other people will be a positive light that will help positive spirits be around you, and positive spirits guide you to the right things, especially if you're asking the right questions and praying for certain things in your life, trying to manifest. And so that's the lesson. I could go on and on with examples, but the lesson of how every little thing within our mind, our body, our spirit, our soul, our habits, our demeanor, our behaviors, especially our emotions. I said in my introduction video that I believe that emotions are like the key to interacting with the universe. And this is one example of how that our emotions are magnetic. Literally, they're energy and motion, and they're magnetic, and they're like possibly the most dense of the energies that we hold and move through ourselves and our bodies that are not just electrical. Even emotions can be electricity in the body in some way or another. Chemical too. Emotions can be chemically related, which is another way that they're very dense energy for us. And so that density, that dense emotion, depending on how we choose to use it, is really what helps us shift between lower densities and higher densities, and astral realms. And even people who have spiritual abilities, psychic abilities, not all of them are pure. Some people assume that they are. Some people assume that psychic abilities and psychic mediums are not free of problems, and that they're just all good and of a high vibration. That's not true. There are definitely some psychics out there, people with advanced energy and spirit abilities who use them for evil, who use them for curses. I've dealt with plenty of those. I've heard of and known plenty of those types. Some psychic mediums are kind of like in the neutral zone and don't even use their abilities to help others. Some of them are just psychic as they are and don't necessarily, they're not like TV psychics or anything like that, or out in the media. And so this is the other thing I want to mention in this video, is that being a psychic medium is not all it's cracked up to be. Even being an intuitive empath is not all it's cracked up to be. sensitive people are sensitive to the energies of people, dark and light. And so that's why many of us sensitive people stay home a lot. Not everyone. I'm learning how to interact with the world and get out and interact with people, be part of communities and uh, host events, interact with events, participate. But yeah, that's it's a bit about psychic mediums and empaths is that especially psychic mediums, um, not all of them are naturally of the light or work with the light. Some psychic mediums are designed and naturally function in a mechanical way with their abilities that they um, literally their abilities are attuned to deceased spirits and the death world, the lower world, and the more like deadly energies of this planet, and their purpose quite often everyone's different, but quite often the purpose of that type of ability is to be able to be a medium to help spirits cross over, to even be a voice for deceased spirits who have messages for family, who have messages for people, perhaps murder victims. I've known of plenty of deceased murder victim spirits who just hang around. They don't necessarily have a desire to cross over, but they actually want to tell people of a murderer in the area or of how they got murdered or that something is dangerous, depending on how they died. So that's the lesson. And there'll be many more of this nature of our intersections between sort of the physics, the energy physics and um, mechanics of how our inner world intersects and interacts with the outer world and the spirit world. And I'll be talking a lot more certainly about the spirit world and spirit worlds and the types of energy worlds in other videos. By the way, I had quite the interesting kind of synchronicity and I think initiation. One thing I'll be talking about in a different video and certainly on my newbeinghypnosis.com blog is the importance of initiations. I'll be writing about that soon. And so one initiation I had is that I ended up meeting with a group of light workers recently, or a group of other, yeah, light workers and fellow sensitives. And one of them got the name Ethereal Engineer, and that just sort of came to her. And so um, then I was talking about my practice and what I do, and how my mind has always been about uh, trying to understand the mechanics and dynamics of how our energy and energy bodies interact with spirits in the spirit world and how everything works in that way. And so then she dubbed me the ethereal engineer. So thank you to my friend Cynthia, who gave me that title. I hope that you find this and very grateful. So, as that's been gifted to me, I'll be using that title, the ethereal engineer. That's really what I do in my practice is help people fix damages, fix leakages, fix help. Sometimes I've helped spirits cross over. I've helped people with trauma, of course, um, entity attachments, and a myriad of other things, especially things that go awry. And so that's the way I'm an engineer to help people patch things up, fix things, and get them back into working order. So that's what I do as an intuitive hypnotherapist with at New Being Hypnosis. If you want to book a session with me or even a free consultation, feel free to do so at newbeinghypnosis.com. All of my practice information is there if you want to learn more about me too. I'll be updating it and probably adding more services soon, including Reiki as an individual service. Distance Reiki can be done just as I do distance hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So, thank you for watching. And from the light of Sirius, I give you my unconditional blessings, just as we are all sacred beings. So, thank you for tuning in again to the New Being Hypnosis channel. This is episode 2 of the Web of Life series, and I hope that all of you are benefiting from listening to your guidance, your inner guides, inner guidance, spirit guides, angels, and being blessed in your life, however you pray, however you connect. So, I am very grateful to be sharing my peace with you, and to be sharing my knowledge with you. Go ahead and close with another tone from my ancient Tibetan singing bowl. And for those of you who don't know, I still have this quartz crystal in here that turned out kind of milky or foggy, I should say, as one of my stone carver friends polished it. But it's from Brazil. I think it's a Lemurian quartz crystal, as they call it. And so I keep it in this bowl so that, yeah, so it lives in this bowl and interacts with it. So, if you are enjoying the New Being Hypnosis channel, please like this video, subscribe, and share, and turn on the notification bell. And I will keep you up to date and teach you a lot about what I know about ethereal engineering. Thank you. Much love your way.